interesting because if you're a customer right now, this is the hottest topic in the industry. So when we talk about software defined, what goes through your mind? Some customers tell me that this may not be for me right now. I'm still running 3-tier architectures. My budgets are limited. I don't have a strategy to do this. So what I'm going to walk you through in this session is to be able, you as customers, and depending on the role that you have, maybe senior managers, IT managers, to be able to be the enabler in your organization. Today in the sessions, in the general sessions, we heard from Globe. And what did Globe say? They have looked at SDN, they've looked at network function virtualization, and they were able to be more agile. Now, Globe's a big company. They're investing in software-defined networking, and the result is they're becoming a more competitive player in the service provider space. Now, how can I bring that to you as Dell customers? How do you pitch it to your CIOs that we need to be IT enablers? If you look at Uber, Airbnb, all the new digital disruptors, they use IT as an enabler. So today, how many of you, just a show of hands roughly, have an idea of what your IT budgets are? Just roughly. Okay, so do you make a decision on those budgets? Do you say 80% of this is going to go for this spend, 20% of it is going to go for this spend? Can I just have a show of hands? Okay. So this is an interesting question I'm going to pose for you guys. When we talk about software defined, how much of your current budget today is well understood by your CEOs and CIOs on software defined spend? I see a bit of different reactions from the front, right? Today, a lot of companies, when I start talking about software defined and I ask them, how much of your budget is spent on software defined, I get a bit of a blank stare. The reason being is your budgets are shrinking or your budgets remain flat and you're trying to keep the lights on for your company. Other companies who are embracing and setting aside budgets are getting competitive. So in this session, I'm going to walk you through in terms of how should we look at software defined. So when we look at the different disruptors, we look at it from a cloud, mobility, and big data standpoint. Now, regardless of which vendor I cover, if I cover the Dell logo, every vendor is talking about the same thing. Today, the mobility accounts for a majority of spend. A lot of employees are required to work from home. A lot of employees are required to be more productive on the road. So a lot of spend is given to mobility. When we talk about cloud, there's various versions of a cloud. You've got public cloud with Amazon Web Services. You've got on-premise cloud. You've got hybrid cloud. Which cloud is right for you? Which services are you guys deciding today to spend on cloud? And then you have big data, all right? We talked about big data today, and everyone gave an example in terms of, Tianbing used the example of football in terms of, being able to do better analytics. I came to Manila 5 years ago. That was the last time I was here. The traffic jam was pretty horrendous. This time when I came, I had pretty much a pleasant experience coming to the hotel. Now, there could be a division somewhere here that's actually monitoring and doing analytics of big data. Now, I travel frequently. I've been to China last week. The way China has is they have a lot more people than Manila, but they also have a way of doing analytics for their traffic. The solution is once they've done the analytics, they actually decided even numbers drive on a certain day, odd numbers drive on a certain day, and they were able to improve congestion. Now, those are just examples of how big data is utilized. Now, if you're looking at casinos or video surveillance, right, security is becoming a hot topic, and security requires big data too. How many people are walking through your malls? What are the type of people are walking through your malls? What kind of genders they are, male or female? So these are predictive examples of how your business is going to be competitive. So when you guys are looking at software-defined, look at your objectives of your company and then work back to understand how software-defined technologies will help enable those services. So when we talk about intersection of traditional IT and new IT, traditional IT is working on three-tier architectures. You run your Oracle, you run your SAP, your ERP system, and everything is okay. When you start having teams coming and say, well, I want a social media page, or I want to launch this new service, I want to respond quickly to this viral campaign. How do I do that? Viral campaigns need a response time of less than 24 hours. How does the service provider always been able to do that? It's because they have technologies to support this. So the way Dell approaches this is, as a vendor, we need to be able to support your traditional IT as well as embrace new IT. A lot of vendors will have a single point of view in terms of how to embrace new IT. You will have a lot of vendors coming and telling you, well, your infrastructure runs on Cisco, here's our new software-defined strategy. You'll have NetApp come and tell you something different. You'll have HP come and share with you something different. What Dell has done is we have the broadest range of products to support traditional as well as new IT. And what I mean by that is, today we are in the process of merging with EMC. And strategically, we've announced two things. We've announced VMAX reseller program, as well as we have announced VxRail and VxRack. With the partnerships we have with EMC VMware, we are now a powerhouse to offer the largest hyper-converged offering. We also have partnerships with Nutanix. We have partnerships with Nexenta. We have partnerships with Microsoft. So when we built our strategy, we were looking at strong alliance partners versus taking our customers down a single path. So today, when you're talking about infrastructure, when you talk to Amazon Web Services, they will come and sell you, well, you can move from CAPEX to OPEX, right? So you start moving your business to the cloud. Tomorrow, when your budget shrinks and you want to bring back that into your private cloud, it becomes a whole new complexity. You will have to deal with different tool sets to bring it back. You need something that's scalable enough to manage the growth that you've achieved on that platform, and it gets very complex. So these are some of the common complexities that when we discuss with customers, we needed to have a point of view. So the point of view that Dell had was, let's look at what we're good at. We're number one in service in Philippines, right? We've built that business really strong. We're great in storage and also networking. These are the three components that customers make a very common mistake. And I'll walk you through that as we go through this. But when we talk about powerful disruptors, these are some of the things. 2 million emails sent per second, 500 million tweets per day. Today, you guys know about exabyte, zettabyte. What's beyond that? Yottabyte. And what's beyond that? Now, 5 years ago, we were still talking about gigabytes and petabytes. So data is exploding. The digital transformation in each of your companies are impacting this. And as CIOs or IT managers, these are the common challenges. Data exploding, you have changing IT models. Some companies that I talk to have cost optimization projects. And cost optimization projects doesn't necessarily need to be reduction in workforce. We can look at it from a perspective of, can we build an IT infrastructure that's more agile, secure, release new services, and use the workforce that we have to train them to be able to launch that services rapidly. That is the right cost optimization project. So there's various transformation cycles right now each of you may be experiencing. So one of the things that we will be covering is how do we handle this? So the key three things that we have to focus on is my infrastructure flexible? Is it agile? And is it efficient? How long does it take for me to launch a workload? How long does it for me to launch a new service? And most of the time, the bottleneck comes from the networking piece, right? Funny that a lot of companies, when they go through their refresh, it's always refreshing the compute and refreshing the storage, but very little emphasis is done on the networking piece. So what's changed? If you have a data center today, the real estate that you have in the data center will shrink in the next 5 years. You don't have to believe me, but look at the server compute power. You have servers that have more hard drives, more processing power, more memory, that can run more VMs in a less number of real estate space. Second thing, flash. Flash is driving the adoption of storage boxes, right, in hyper-converged space. Now, with the demands of flash and demands of compute, you need to have a resilient network infrastructure. So when we walk through our network infrastructure, we don't point to a product. We show you how we disaggregate the hardware from the software, and that's truly software-defined. So when you look at software-defined storage, this is what's enabled by the flash products, and I will also talk to you about how we disaggregate the networking piece. So today, Cisco sells a lot of switches, and most of you potentially will use Cisco or other brands. But every time when we talk about Cisco, I always say it's rebranding of 1980s technology. If you want to upgrade Cisco, you've got to rip and replace or upgrade it to a new switch. But what if you had an ability to disaggregate the networking software from the switch, make it easier for you to scale, be more agile on your network? And that's what Dell has done. Dell is the most innovative networking vendor. You can Google that, and we achieved that status 2 years ago. What we did 2 years ago was we disaggregated the hardware from the software. This year, we disaggregated the networking software to make it more agile for you to use Linux-based solutions to be able to port through our APIs. So for you to spin off a new workload, you now no longer have to worry about your software-defined networking strategy. So this is how it breaks down. Many of you would be familiar with the management platform, x86 compute, proprietary networking, and integrated storage. And in most companies, this is managed by different teams. Okay? You heard Globe talk about managing their CTO and CIO organization together. It's a very good strategy because you're now bridging the gap for the benefit of the company to be able to be more competitive in the marketplace. When you become in this structure, it's slow, it's locked in, and it's also very hard to integrate. When you start looking at a software-defined strategy, you're able to do faster software innovation, better choice of infrastructure, and non-disruptive. We have a product called Nutanix. It's got a one-click upgrade. Okay, you can run data center, and it'll run the upgrade across. No downtime. Some of you will be looking, going, wow, this is exciting stuff. But a lot of other vendors, VMware, Microsoft, they're all coming out with similar technology. So no longer is a customer locked into an infrastructure. So when we look at what we talk about software-defined, your virtualization platform and your storage is combined together with your networking. It's appliance-based. So I was in a session earlier, and customers saying, well, that looks like a server, and it is a server, right? We're number one in servers in Philippines. Dell also sells server. Dell manufactures server, Dell designs servers. We're not a storage company, right? So if you're a storage company like NetApp, and you need to design a server, you don't manufacture it, you're going to have a problem in terms of understanding how to compete. Now, we are leveraging the excellence that we have in our server business, optimized with software-defined networking and software-defined storage products, and we are leading the market. So today, if you're buying servers from us, you're going to get the same benefit of the design to be able to look at software-defined technology. And when we look at how it impacts the data center, the goal of Dell is simple. We want you to have openness for innovation, tailored to your flexibility, and validated and foolproof. Now, I can say all these words, but how do we actually do it? We have a division and a session called Solution Blueprints. So instead of you trying to figure out how to test it, we have tested reference architectures, engineered appliances to be able to roll out to our customers at an ease. So let's break it down. Today, whenever you are making a decision on servers, you'll be looking at what it's been validated for. VMware, Microsoft, Linux, and that's the whole process of making a decision. The same thing for storage. You will go through an evaluation of what workloads, what is supported from a perspective of software alliances. The same thing for networking, right? You will go through the whole process of understanding what each networking vendor is going to do for the others. But let me tell you, not one solution will fit everything. There's no right solution. It really depends to the need that you have and the preference you have to that technology. You have to get married at some stage to one of these. But you got to get married to something that's being able to be long-term, flexible, and give you the right TCO, right? AWS is a one-size-fits-all, okay? Public cloud is my strategy. You got to use my tool sets. I need to be able to pay for it. That's a very simple strategy. But not all of us in this room have that budget. Then you move up the next layer is talking about how do I manage this infrastructure? And then the complexity of how do I port it out to the cloud talks about all the open source versions that we have, like OpenStack, Mirantis, Chef, Puppet. How do we interact with those? So to remove some of the complexity, what Dell has done is we have launched best of performance systems. You've seen it. We've made it simpler for you guys in terms of understanding the software-defined standard. We've got partnerships with all these vendors, right? When we talk about disaggregation, the first thing we did at the network level, we built partnerships with Big Switch, with Pluralist Networks, IP Fusion, and we were able to integrate into some of those areas. For storage, we have a plethora of offerings for software-defined. And on my left-hand side, if you see, it's around the blueprints. So when you attend the blueprint session, if you're considering virtualization, we are able to show you how does virtualization look like. How should you set up virtualization for a software-defined data center? We also have software-defined data center or storage-defined data center architectures as well as SDN architectures. So this removes the complexity when you select a vendor. We are now leading as a solution IP vendor, not as a product vendor. And together with the combination of Dell and EMC, we will be a powerhouse in terms of being able to offer more solutions in the coming months. So moving away from the blueprints, we also have engineered appliances. VxRail is a form of engineered appliances. You can purchase it and you can deploy it. Similar with Nutanix, similar to Microsoft hybrid cloud systems. Dell has a way to be able to do that. Now, to showcase some of these aspects, the booth behind this room, the data center booth, called the Future Ready Data Center, you're able to see the actual consoles on how this works, right? So there is a demo, there are individuals there on the screen that shows you how do you manage your infrastructure with Active Systems Manager, how do you manage your storage products. So take time to go and have a look at that demo. So when we now focus on the storage portion, all right, we've talked about as the whole software-defined data center. It comes down to even more complexity. How do am I able to have any storage software on any x86 server combined with a DAS to be able to be flexible, agile? So software-defined storage has certain ways of deployment and implementation. And these are the three areas. One is a physical appliance, similar to what Nutanix is. You got all the bells and whistles with the software, and we ship it to customers, the customers deploy it. Hyperconverged is server storage all-in-one, an engineered appliance. This is where VxRail plays, VxRack plays in that space. And then you have only software only, which is the Microsoft, the Nexenta, the Scality products. So there are different versions of consideration depending on what your workload is going to be. If you're running a video surveillance, maybe you need something with Scalent or Nexenta because you need to be able to store it on cheaper disks. So depending on the requirements of your storage, you'll be able to select whether you want to go down the path of physical appliance, hyperconverged appliance, or only software only. So how fast is this market growing? Why should you care? Nearly 60% of customers are looking at these solutions because you can deploy faster, you're more agile, and you become competitive. Right? So the market stat shows that 20% of our customers are implementing SDS today, and 40% are committed for a long-term strategy. Now, remember when I started this presentation, I asked you guys, how many of you are considering setting your budgets aside for SDS or SDN? Very few hands went up. But at some stage, to be more competitive in the market, this is the way that the customers are going through. So the Dell advantage is we separated the hardware from the software. Okay, and I've showed you examples of how we did it from a compute layer, from a storage layer, as well as a networking layer. So we talked about reference architectures and engineered solutions. Now, what are the benefits of this? It's flexible. You can tailor it to the requirements of your company. The second thing is it's got the latest innovations. So if you look at our Compellent SE series and our EqualLogic business, all right, we have kept both those lines. 2008, we acquired and rolled out EqualLogic. We still sell EqualLogic today. We've launched Compellent, and we've standardized on a single stack architecture. Guess what we've just covered in the coming months? We have a cross-replication software that's able to cross-replicate between an EqualLogic box and a Compellent box. Because we believe customers will store their data, and the data will always live longer than any life cycle of any product. So when you're discussing a storage strategy, we don't end of life a product. We have a path for customers to be able to reduce their total cost of ownership. unlike some of our competitors, when it comes to a refresh cycle, the maintenance cost goes up. So that's a consideration when your budgets are getting tight. How do I now refresh and not sustain and keep the total cost of ownership on the product that I have? And that's a key differentiator for Dell in terms of storage. And when we talk about software defined, it shouldn't be locked to only one single hypervisor. Hypervisors are changing. I need to be able to scale to multiple hypervisors. We have that. We don't have to rip and replace. We've reduced the manual automation time to keep the lights on. And it's one source of support for across all Dell product lines. So as you move from the software-defined solutions, we come down to the priorities. Now this will look familiar to you, because at some stage, when you're writing your RFPs for your vendors, you'll be either looking at a virtual desktop infrastructure, scalable data management to manage your explosion, and you will be looking at a private cloud or virtualization. These are the common things that we look at when we're looking at specific projects. And Dell is here to help you in any of these areas. So I've shown you the strategy, I've shown you the way we get to the blueprints, and this is kind of the outcomes that customers like yourself are considering. So when we look at that, we start by understanding what is your capacity requirements. So Dell has a tool called DPAC, Dell Performance Analysis, right? There's also a session during the Compellent session, if you're attending that. It's able to give you your utilization, where you have performance issues in terms of your network. We then decide whether you need to evolve in your traditional IT, and we will position the right products line with Compellent and Fluid Cache for SAN. If you're looking at a hyper-converged infrastructure, we will be able to size that and give you the right sizing, and you have multiple flavors to choose from VMware, Nutanix, Microsoft, Nexenta. And if you're looking at a software-alone strategy, we'll be able to select from that menu. Now, which vendor in the hyper-converged market today offers all this? Go back, have a think about it. When I started making the statement about we have the broadest range of software-defined solutions that tailor for your needs, this is what I meant. I'm not selling Cisco SpringPath. I'm not selling a NetApp strategy. I'm not selling a HP strategy. I'm selling a strategy where Dell has built IP with multiple strategic alliances that's able to scale your business. And this is the proof. The partnerships that we've had, VMware vSAN, Nutanix, Microsoft Storage Spaces, Scality, Nexenta, Red Hat SEP. Any workload that you're looking at, I would like to think that my storage addresses 95% of your needs. 95%. Any workload you're considering, if you're a HP customer today, a NetApp customer today, a Cisco customer today, do talk to Dell about what they can offer in the software-defined space. We offer choice, innovation, and assurance. When we talk about total cost of ownership, I'm always challenged by video surveillance customers, right? Because they need to store a lot of information. They said, how do I keep my total cost of ownership in Compellent low? I said, when we acquired Compellent, our total cost of ownership was $1.50 per gigabyte, and that's high. But as commodity costs go down, and Dell is a supply chain company, and we excel in that, and we give the cost savings back to the customer, we were able to reduce that another 50 cents. It's down to $1. What we then did was we did innovation and R&D on Compellent to introduce deduplication and compression. That dropped it down to 50 cents. On top of that, for video surveillance customers, we created a Compellent 8600 NAS filer that dropped it down to 18 cents. So today when you talk about total cost of ownership, perpetual maintenance licensing costs, compare Dell to any existing vendor that you have, show them the ability of being able to tier to your requirements. Dell storage focuses on tiering. We are able to tier expensive disks and inexpensive disks. So if you're looking at an all-flash product, why would you store your cold storage products or cold storage data on flash? It's too expensive. So Dell focuses on the hybrid flash array market, which is catered to nearly 80% of the market. And you've seen this in IDC. If you ever pull up IDC, price band 1 to 7, and you see the growth of Dell, and China accounts for the biggest market we have, we are the fastest growing multinational company in China, right? And that's a big statement. If customers buy that and they roll out their products, they roll out their OEM products for various solutions, it comes from China. So these are some of the reasons where you should be looking Dell as a partner. So I'm going to go through some of the flavors. So when you're talking about virtual desktop infrastructure or looking at a private cloud and an appliance-based solution, we have Nutanix XE series. Nutanix is able to reduce the cost per virtual desktop by 27%. They can deliver faster virtual desktops, and they're currently growing at a rapid rate, not only in America, but across the globe. We've done implementations with Nutanix for close to 70 sites under 2 weeks. Under 2 months, under 8 weeks. So there's significant difference in terms of what platform you choose for your organization. And then when we look at where VMware has led from the front, VMware created the virtualization market, right? A lot of customers are still using VMware. And to protect your investment protection, Dell has validated vSAN ready nodes. In addition to that, we've talked about VxRail, right? And when we talk about VxRail, this is Dell IP, right? This is the IP. When we merge together with VMware and with EMC, this is the product that we're going to be positioning to our customers. Customers who are running VMware environments, you have ELA agreements. Why try a product like Nutanix when you can do your investment protection on VxRail? That's considerations you need to make on your own within your company when you're selecting your hyperconverged infrastructure. And it can scale. You can support virtual desktop, server workloads, hybrid cloud, distributed enterprise. And the beauty about this product is it's got the data protection within it. EMC being a storage company, a data services company, and a data protection company offers this as a key differentiator. And they scale these product lines. Today, you can purchase these products from Dell through a reseller agreement we've announced, and those are denoted by the number of cores. So if you have 6 cores per node, it's called a VxRail 60. 12 cores per node, VxRail 120. VxRail 160 for 16 cores, and VxRail 200 for 20 cores. We've made it simple for our customers to scale. This is truly an enterprise data center product. This is where Dell leads from the front with EMC. So the merger that we are having is going to bring this level of products and portfolio for you as customers. And some of the things that come with this product, fully loaded, replication, backup, cloud, and they also have an online marketplace. EMC also has another company called VirtuStream. In the second half, you'll see them start expanding in APJ, right? That's their enterprise cloud company, right? So there's a lot more that we are getting out of this company to become a superpower house. And this is one of the aspects that we believe is going to drive the relationship. So VxRail, please do engage your system consultant or your enterprise technologies and try it out. So we didn't stop there. If you want to scale beyond VxRail, you have the VxRack product. You want to scale beyond VxRack, you also have the VBlock. Now, VCE was the brainchild behind some of these products, and we believe this is going to be a differentiator in the cloud space. So for me, as an employee of Dell, I wouldn't work for any other technology company out there. We have the right products, we have the right strategy, our customers are happy, and don't take my word for it. When we surveyed partners and customers, 75% of customers and partners saying they're very positive of this merger. They believe this is going to give partners more products to sell, be more of a solution provider, and also give customers the solutions that they need. When we move to some of our other partnerships, Scality, if you're doing animation, you need to do content distribution. We have products with Scality that offers the ability to utilize your object storage, right? This allows customers to be able to scale if they're looking at storing object type of data. It's usually used by hospitals, customers who are looking at MRIs, things like that. This is the type of solution that they look for. And if you're looking for a way to scale down your costs for cold storage, Nexenter is a good big data, cheap solution where you're able to scale, do your analytics that you require on very low cost direct attached storage. So these are some of the solutions that we use predominantly for the video surveillance market. Microsoft. Similar to VMware, Microsoft made a lot of progress in the cloud space when it came to the cloud environment, right? They had Hyper-V, right? They got the Microsoft Hybrid Cloud. So we've also had partnerships with them to be able to offer this flavor. And it comes with PowerEdge, our MD series, where we're able to port hot and cold data, and you can do it on solid-state drives or normal spinning disks. This is why we say, when you talk about total cost of ownership, you have to evaluate the components and the solutions offered by the vendors. And finally, from Red Hat, if you're a service provider, you may be looking at OpenStack or Red Hat Ceph storage. And we also have a validated configuration for this environment. This is perfect for customers who are looking at scaling to the public cloud. And we can't do this without the help of services, right? So some customers say, what does Dell have that's able to scale? You know, I gave you an example earlier. We did 70 sites. It was not in one location. It was across the globe. All the solutions that we have are scale based on the expertise that we have within services. We have a team focused on converged data center, big data, cloud virtualization, and application modernization. Now, these SMEs are also the same people who are working on validating the reference architectures, and also their inputs go in terms of how they learn from the field and input for the engineered appliances that we build. So this brings Dell to be a single point of contact that has all the expertise, the automation, and the tools for you guys to select from. And some customers also look at different options. Because this is a South Asia context, in certain regions we have Dell Financial Services. A lot of customers look at shifting from CAPEX to OPEX models. So our Dell Financial Services comes into play when we select the solution. So Dell's not only an infrastructure company. We have services and financial services to back some of our solutions. So in summary, team, when you're considering your next SDS solution, do look at Dell from an infrastructure provider perspective.